All right. Well, we're going to kind of look around the AFC North and the quarterback situations because really all four teams are dealing with quarterback injuries. At some guys going out, some guys coming back, all that kind of stuff. But we just spoke about Lamar, so the angle that we're going to take on the Lamar side with the Ravens is I didn't like this switch up from Emmanuel Acho because those that have been loyal listeners for some time know that we had Emmanuel Acho on, and I do appreciate him that he was willing to come into the Lions Den. And I presented it to him that I wanted to debate him on his MVP voting last year, and he would not budge. Okay, even though he admitted to us here inside the vault, yes, Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback last year, but some mumbo jumbo about he wasn't going to vote for him for MVP because he had the better team. Check out this switch up. This switch up just a few months later is an all-time switch up that I am rejecting. I don't want it. Get it out of here. Knock it out. Mutombo finger, all of it. So Bleacher Report tweets last night. On October 12th, Ravens fell to 1-5 on the season. We know that. November 23rd, yesterday, Ravens are 6-5 and sit atop the AFC North. It's kind of crazy. We know that. We've talked about it. They've been on a 5-game winning streak. Emmanuel Acho, this guy of all people, quote retweets that and says, give Lamar Jackson part ownership of the franchise at this point. It's nothing without him. Bro, this is probably true. The Ravens are nothing without Lamar. That's what we were trying to tell you last year, and you wouldn't listen. All this mumbo jumbo about Lamar's benefiting from Derrick Henry, and I'm sure he did a little, but with Lamar not healthy right now, how's Derrick Henry doing? He wasn't having a career year like he was yesterday. Like, why couldn't we see, Emmanuel, that Lamar was benefiting Derrick more than he was benefiting Lamar? And by the way,
sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure you get polished here just on one small thing. Career year was last year, not yesterday. Just want to make sure you're
thank you.
You're
career
understood.
year last year. And so it's insane to me that and I was sending him the info all year, and he was interacting with me. He was interacting all year on Twitter, and it came all the way up to the point where he came on the show. And he admitted that Lamar was the best, but he stole it from him because this statement that the Ravens are dead in the water without Lamar, that's been true since he became the starter in 2018. And last year it was just as true. It was just as true. And here's what's funny is now he's saying it, but he's saying it at the wrong time because the Ravens changed from 1-5 to 6-5 is less about Lamar and more about the defense because Lamar and the Ravens were putting up 40 points against the Bills, 35 plus points, 30 points. Like this 6-5 stretch, it started with Tyler Huntley winning the first game or leading the team to a win against the Chicago Bears. That's where it started. Lamar had a great game against Miami, but the Ravens have not been scoring a ton. Lamar himself just said they're underachieving. Lamar himself just said within the last couple weeks that he's frustrated with the offense and they're not pulling their end of the bargain. So for Emmanuel to use this right now and say the franchise was nothing without Lamar. Yeah, it's true, but that's not Lamar is not the reason that they've gone from 1-5 to 6-5. It's more that the defense has been better because when Lamar plays, the Ravens are always in contention. Always. Like if Lamar's playing, the Ravens more often than not are going to win. So that's always been true, but it's the defense that turned it around. The defense. So I just reject it. Take your switch up and go back. Go back to the days and the preaching that you had last year because we already knew this, but you wouldn't be convinced of it last year. Your heels were dug in, your heart was hard, and your brain was closed, your mind was closed off to any other point of view.
Your heart was hard. Speaking of the defense, this is a group that has allowed less than 20 points in 6 straight games. That's the longest streak in the NFL so far in 2025. They're getting more pressure than they did prior to the deadline, a lot of which is due to Draymond Jones. I think he's been a really positive addition for them. And when you couple that with Mike Green starting to stack, he led the team with 5 pressures, looks very comfortable out there, continuing to display his unrelenting motor and God-gifted athleticism. He and Draymond, Sarah, covered, and I should say combined, for 9 total defensive pressures yesterday. Kyle Van Noy had 3, and Trenton Simpson, who continues to be a third down specialist and a small sample size guy, he had 2, and he followed up a great game in Cleveland, albeit, only like 5 or 6 total snaps, I want to say, that he recorded. So good stuff there. As you look at the AFC North on a short week, we kind of continue the conversation when it comes to the quarterback stories. And Joe Burrow, obviously, this week and this Thursday night Thanksgiving showdown really hinges on his availability here. Joe Flacco's been starting in place of Joe for weeks now since Cleveland traded him. And you brought in the latest that Mike Florio had on Pro Football Talk as of this morning.
Yeah, Mike Florio was talking to his own sources. He had a headline this morning on Pro Football Talk that's entitled "Joe Burrow's status for Thursday night is, quote, TBD." So he's talking to his sources. This is his story. He says, at one point last week, the signs were pointing toward Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow returning for Sunday's game against the Patriots. After 2 straight days of full participation practices, something changed. By Friday, Joe Flacco got the starter reps in order to get him ready for the Week 12 contest with New England. Burrow ultimately wasn't activated from injured reserve. One theory was that with 2 games, only 4 days apart, the Bengals decided to wait until Thanksgiving night for Burrow's return. That said, it's still not certain Burrow will play when the Bengals travel to Baltimore for the Thursday night game. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, quote, nothing is set in stone, close quote. Burrow's status for the Week 13 game is TBD based on how his body responds after recent and upcoming practice time. Burrow, quote, wants to play, but there's a bigger consideration at play. At 3-8, the Bengals are facing a very small chance of making it to the postseason. If there's a significant risk of re-injuring torn toe ligaments that required surgery after a Week 2 injury, is the reward worth it? I think.
Well, 9-8 can get you in as a wild card team. So if they rip off the next 6 games, or what, they're 3-8 right now. So so they've played 11, 6 more to get to 17, gets you to 9-8, and that probably is good enough to at least have a conversation for a wild card slot. So I guess that's what the best ceiling would be, or the reward, right? A chance to make it and punch your ticket to the postseason. But you got to go 6-0 down the stretch, and with that defense, as Joe Flacco's learned over the last month, easier said than done.
I'm operating that he's going to play. I could be wrong. Like they said, his body could respond a certain way. Maybe somebody higher up will be like, okay, yeah, you're healthy, but I don't care because we're not making the playoffs anyway. But like, competitors want to compete. It's said in there that he wants to play. He's been back to practice. Like, he was a full participant. I'm operating under the idea that he's playing.
I would agree.
Now, do I think it'll be interesting because Jamar Chase will be back from suspension, correct? He'll be back for Thursday night's game. He missed last week's. There is the matter of Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. This morning, Adam Schefter tweeted that he is currently in concussion protocol. It's going to be tough to be cleared in 5 days from yesterday, 4 days time. So I think that either Joe Flacco would miss T. Higgins, so would Joe Burrow coming back from injury. So I still think that they'll be able to put up points and whatnot, but I think the Ravens are obviously in a position where they should prepare for Joe Burrow. They know Joe Flacco like the back of their hand. They can always be ready for that. But it will hurt them without T. Higgins, I do believe. I do think that will hurt them if he can't be back in time.
Ravens are going to attempt to back-to-back sweep in terms of the regular season series the Cincinnati Bengals, as they did last year. Y'all remember this one, the second time that they played. The Ravens were facing a 21-7 deficit and ended up winning that game in barn-burning fashion, 35-34, just stunning Cincinnati. Both games were absurd. They were high-scoring affairs. I know in one of them, Joe Burrow threw that pick to Marlon Humphrey that ended up sealing the deal for the Ravens. I think that was 42-38. Am I remembering that correctly? Bottom line is these were really, really high-flying games, and you get the sense that with both of these actually, I was going to say the Ravens offense isn't exactly in a state right now where they're capable or consistently putting up 30+ as they were earlier on in the season. But this is the Thanksgiving slate. The Ravens will be the third and final game in the standalone fashion on Thursday night. The other two, Packers and Lions, of course, it's a classic, and the Chiefs and Cowboys will be the middle game there between the Ravens and Bengals. And then, of course, the day kick starts with what I just mentioned, Packers and Lions. So I guess as we look at the AFC North, you've got Joe Burrow trying to rush back to be available for Thursday night. You've got Lamar far from 100%, nursing what we think is a number of ailments. The most recent is the ankle. Prior to that, it was the knee, and we know that he was sidelined for multiple weeks.
Before you move on to Bengals, can I just do one, or excuse me, before you move on to Browns, I just wanted to play a video clip from Joe Flacco when he was asked yesterday about Joe Burrow returning, and if that was like potentially his last game being played. That Joe gave a good answer.
Competitor, you always want to be out there on the field. I mean, this is what I live to do, is go out in that field and play football. But at the same time, I feel really fortunate to have kind of found myself in this situation. As much as I would have loved to see us win games, I still have had a lot of fun here with these guys in the locker room. Going out, lacing them up with these guys has been a lot of fun. And I've felt right at home and have had a blast doing it. And I don't think I really am looking anything past that. You know, I get it. I get how certain feelings could be involved with this, but in this case, it's easy for me to kind of put those aside and just look at the positives of the whole thing, and and be excited for another teammate trying to work his way back. So it might sound like crap and like I'm lying, and yeah, there is a tough part of not being out there. There always is. But I feel like I've put my head down and worked hard the last however long it's been, and I've had a lot of fun with these guys, and it's always I don't know, it's just always I don't know, I keep saying fun, but I want to say something else. But when you're in there with guys and you make relationships with them and you're out there battling on the field with them and you can look each other in the eyes and know that you've been doing that the right way, then you really can't worry about the other things.
He doesn't sound like a guy that's going to be playing on Thursday, but Joe's career since he left the Ravens has been like this roller coaster, and nobody expected so many different twists and turns. So, but I appreciate that, he wants to compete. Two things can be true at once, but he's also excited for his teammate in Joe Burrow trying to come back. So, it will be interesting if that was Joe Flacco's last career game, because if Joe Burrow does return, will he be signed again after this year? It just seems like, what is he 41 yet? Can't remember when he
Joe's
turns
40, 41, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in Cincinnati. Love that clip. And then meanwhile in Cleveland, Dylan Gabriel was still in concussion protocol, so that opened up the door for Shedeur. We just saw some of him. The Ravens just saw some of him a week ago in the second half in Cleveland. Ravens, did what they were supposed to do against a rookie that was thrown into really a very difficult spot, cold, in the second half. But after a week of first-team reps and after a week of game planning for a Vegas team that's going nowhere fast, Shedeur Sanders and company got his first career start, first career win. So good for him. Man, what heck of the highlight throw was to Isaiah Bond for 60 plus or 50. I think it was a 52-yard completion. He was flush from the pocket and threw a dime to Isaiah Bond. That was definitely the highlight of it. If you're looking for the true highlight of from a historical standpoint, it's what this defense is doing. Myles Garrett had a 3-sack day, Sarah, followed up his 4-sack day from the week prior against the Ravens, and now has a whopping 18 on the year. He's got 18 before Thanksgiving, and he is breathing down the all-time single-season record of 22.5, or is it 22 flat? It's one of the two. Right now, as a team, the Panthers have 16 sacks. The Bengals have 15. And the 49ers, these are, again, team sacks, 12. Myles Garrett has 18 individually. Absurd stuff. And you see where he's stacking up right now historically. Over his last 4 games, the guy's put together an all-pro year. He's got 13 sacks over the last 4 games. That's more than any other NFL player has had over a 5-game span since sacks were officially tracked for defenders in 1982. That's according to OptaStats. So, yeah, the most sacks in a team's first 11 games in a season in NFL history. Maybe this makes you feel a little bit better about the performance that Ronnie Stanley put forth last week, a lot of which was lined up over Myles. He is an all-time great, unfortunately on an all-time bad team for years running now. You just don't get to see him enough in primetime games or compete for championships, which is a darn shame. But as we discussed in recent weeks, he made that decision.
God, he's so good. He's so good. And I got to tell you, I'm glad he didn't force himself out of Cleveland to go to a real contender. It stinks that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Ronnie Stanley have to see him twice a year, but I would hate for him to be on a contender. Oh, I would hate that. And look what happened. Shedeur and Myles Garrett, after they came to town, embarrassed the Raiders. This morning, Adam Schefter, sources, Chip Kelly is out as the Raiders offensive coordinator. So they are moving on from him. And here is Shedeur Sanders' reaction after getting his first win.
Crazy. It's amazing, off of 1 week of practice, you know what I mean? This 1 week of practice. So imagine, what a full offseason look like. It get dangerous. But it's just a 1 week of practice. So I'm just truly thankful, that everything happened.
He's plugging himself here. He's hey, Coach Stefanski, can you see I led us to a win with 1 week of practice? Can you give me more? Now, look, is he like getting a little out of himself? I mean, he was 11 of 20, 209 yards, 55% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 87.3 quarterback rating. So, but there's some truth to what he said, right? With experience, you get better. And one thing about Shedeur and really Dion, his dad, the Sanders family, like whether they're winning or losing, they're always going to have confidence, always. And so I feel like he's just making a play to his boss saying, hey, keep me in, even if Dylan Gabriel is healthy this week.
Kevin Stefanski was non-committal on his overall plan there. So they'll have to wait and see. Dylan, as you look at it from like a high level, not that we're watching the Browns on a weekly basis, but based on what we had to watch last week in Cleveland, Shedeur gave a spark to Cleveland's offense that I don't think Dylan has been able to do. They're pushing the ball downfield. He manages the game. Yes, that interception was piss poor yesterday, but again, he makes up for it with some of the vertical passing game. And it seems as if Tommy Rees can kind of open up and lengthen the playbook a little bit more so when Shedeur's under center versus what Dylan Gabriel has done for them. So, hey, it's good for him, good for him. We'll see what they choose to do. I mean, you got to get a feel for both of these guys before you go back and inevitably get back into the quarterback market for the 2026 draft class. So you might as well keep playing Shedeur. Why wouldn't you? You already have a hefty sample size of Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? So
why not?
And as far as Vegas is concerned, another player that is going nowhere fast with a team that he's been, extremely loyal to, but Max Crosby. You just, from a football fan standpoint, a game of like the business of football, you just wish that a guy like Myles Garrett and a guy like Max Crosby could actually be on relevant teams that are competing for championships. That's not been the case throughout the majority of their respective careers. So that is a look at the current AFC North, which the Ravens find themselves atop at 6-5. Yes, they're interlocked record-wise with Pittsburgh, but as we've discussed a couple times now, based on divisional play, Ravens have the upper hand going into Week 13.